Is there anybody else alive today that was of significance in that business?
Well,
I guess the
I'm
Ochoas.
talking about of the five.
Of the five original Godfathers, right?
Those five that are group. Yeah, the Ochoas, they're like 2 brothers are alive, 1 died.
Okay, so of the original 4 that brought you into the business, Manny's associates.
Manny's the only one alive.
So what happened to those other 3?
So Carlos Botero died about 2 years ago. He was in prison in the United States for about 15 years. Jorge Valdes was murdered in Colombia. Pablo had him killed. And William Mando, Pablo had him killed.
Do you know why?
Over routes.
God, but yet he sounds like he could have killed Manny.
He had so much respect for Manny. And he knows Manny made him.
Right.
And then never, even when he was taking money from everybody, when he was fighting the war against the government, he was taking money from every
taxing groups.
Oh, yeah. You got paid 200. Manny was the only one he never asked money for.
Wow. I wonder if Manny ever pulled him aside and said, son, this is going to bring way too much heat on us.
I don't know. He was just...
Nah, probably not. Probably not. He saw in you what he would have seen in Pablo, which is this guy is kind of incorrigible. You kind of can't... He's kind of got that psychopath... There's 2% of criminals are incorrigible. That's what they say, meaning it's not environment, it's not trauma. They're just antisocial by genetics. Pablo might have been one of those guys.
Even though he was a very likable guy.
Right. Tell us.
Gacha was different. Man, listen.
What was he like?
Okay. So Gacha...
If people want to know, Gacha is, if you go watch Narcos season 1, it's Luis Guzman's character.
Right.
It's the big-headed, fat dude.
They call him the Mexican.
Because he wears cowboy hats.
Mexican hats, right?
Right.
I used to say that he whispered, he didn't talk. So he would go up to you and say, you would go to him and say, I want to borrow 100 kilos. And he's like, okay, Michael, I'll give you 100 kilos. And I'm going to charge you 115 kilos back. When are you going to pay me? And you say, I'll pay you in 30 days. He said, you sure you don't want 40 days? No, in 30 days, I'll pay you. Okay, what day? February 28th. What time? 1 o'clock. If you were not there at 1 o'clock, February 28th, you're dead. That was it. No conversation.
No conversation.
You couldn't come at 2 o'clock.
Even if you had the money?
I didn't give a shit.
Tell us about Griselda.
Never met her.
Was she really?
Was not even in the radar. All the stuff about Griselda, it really got me upset that, I used to be a big fan of the actress, but.
Sofia
Vergara, and I guess she's an actress, it's fine. But, I have a Colombian wife and I have Colombian kids, and I hate for everyone to stereotype that every Colombian woman is a whore or a drug dealer, And the fact that, this is what I'm going to tell you about Griselda. I never met her. I never even heard her name ever.
When did she come to prominence in Miami?
Never. As far as I was.
Wow.
I got out of the business in 87. Till then, I had never heard her name. But I'll just tell you this. I'm just going to appeal to your common sense. In 78, according to the thing, she comes to Miami with a kilo for 28,000. Well, when it's really going for 45, and it's costing that much in Colombia, right? Mm. So that didn't make sense to me. The fact about Pablo fearing her husband, I can attest to that. Pablo's the only man to bring a government to his knees.
Right.
He blew up freaking airline. He blew up the entire Supreme Court.
Right.
You think he's scared of a woman?
Right.
Yeah, not. Everyone knows that she was a cheap prostitute in Colombia. Mm-hmm. So here's the bottom line, okay? She goes to New York, gets charged with 2 murders that get dropped because her hitman or whatever is having phone sex with the prosecutor.
Right.
I don't buy any of that, but let's say that's true. But she's given a 10-year sentence.
Which is crazy.
Okay? And does 5 years for medical reason. Think about it. Well, if she was supposed to be bigger than Pablo, if the United States got a hold of Pablo, he'd be given 10 years. Jorge Ochoa just did 25.
Right. Who was a godfather, who was an actual godfather.
Who's supposed to be less than her.
Right. Yeah.
And then she got out in 5?
No, that's crazy. I never bought that from the first Cocaine Cowboys. So for people that don't know, she was a murderer. She had a lot of bodies on her. Yet somehow they only sentenced her to 10 or 15 years in prison because the prosecutor in her case, his assistant was having phone sex with Rivi, who was her number one bodyguard and hitman. That seems crazy to me. Like, she's only going to get 15 years.
Oh, and they might drop a murder case because the guy's having phone sex with a prosecutor, with a secretary.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. But look,
and then her 3 sons got killed, and she got killed.
Yeah,
really that powerful. Now her son is going around, right? Who was just a baby at that time.
Michael.
I'm really good friends with a guy that was at Angola that worked for her, so I know a lot of stories about her.
Right.
In a sense, but.
How big was she compared, cocaine-wise, compared to like the Falcone organization?
Well, that's the other thing. So here's the other thing, right? Same period. So who's running Miami? Silent Willie or Griselda? Because both documentaries claim that each other.
Right.
That Silent Willie's running Miami. Her Griselda said that she is.
Right.
I go with Silent Willie. I knew Silent Willie. Everybody in prison knew Silent Willie. I never heard of Griselda in my life, ever.
Right.
Ever heard of her.
And it stands to reason. If you know anything about the drug business, you know that level of violence will eat into your profits. People don't want to do business with you. She was killing people that owed her money. So it's like you're going to reduce the amount of money you make.
She became famous by killing her husbands.
Right.
2 husbands. But, you know, is what we said, marketing and pop culture.
It's marketing.
Pop culture made her famous, right? Songs about her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had never heard of her. And I heard of anyone that was anybody till 1980. And from, I don't know, 80 to 84, I was in prison, even though we had a lot of stories in prison. But from 84 to 87, when I got out, I never heard of her. I heard of her when I saw that Billy Corbin's deal.
So you just knew about the violence that was going on in Miami at that time. That's the only thing that you were aware of, but you didn't know. You know, that documentary claims that she was the main group perpetrating that violence, which again, I find hard to believe. I think it was just a bunch of people trying to get in on the action.
All these people, all this documentary claim that they are the ones that created the whole drug traffic in Miami. Yeah. I'm the only one that didn't claim that.
Right.
I'm the only one that said, just as the prosecutor, he accused me of it. I didn't. How many kilos did you bring in? I said, I don't know. Why do I want to say that?
I think Manny might be, if you were gonna try to put a label on it, I think Manny might be the founder. I would say he would be the founder of the cocaine business in the United States. But I think you,
and in Colombia, I would say, the beginning of it all was Manny Garces.
Yes, Manny Garces.
That was the beginning of it all.
He was McDonald's, but you were Ray Kroc. You were the guy that took it from the founder and made it a franchise. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm the one that found the buyers. I'm the one that found the ministers of finance in Tortola and Grand Cayman and Liechtenstein and Zurich. I got their names. You know, all those people know that they did all this money laundering and the Bahamas and Panama and all that.
You built it into the industry.
Yeah.
So what about the cops? What about the judges? What about the prosecutors? You know, it's pretty well known that, especially in the late 70s, early 80s, you could buy off Miami law enforcement.
We did. All of it. Except DA or FBI.
But a judge you could pay off?
No federal judge, though.
But you could pay off a state judge.
In a book that I read about, talking about Shelby Highsmith, who was my lawyer, that was a straight, it talks about him that is such a lie. The guy was so straight. I offer him, his brother-in-law was Peter Fay, the chief judge of the Fifth Court of Appeal. Alan Dershowitz did my appeal. Didn't you hear of Alan Dershowitz?
Of course.
My appeal got granted certiorari for bond, all the way to Supreme Court. I told Shelby, in 1980, tell your brother-in-law, I'll give him $1 million for them to rule on my behalf. You know what was my behalf? I had Jim Baker, the dean of the law school of Harvard. My case was this. My closing argument was this. My client's a drug dealer, made tons of money dealing drugs. But my client has never committed a crime in Macon, Georgia. And he has a constitutional right to venue. You have a right to be tried where you committed your crime. I never been to Macon, Georgia.
Right.
So I had everything for the courts to rule on my behalf.
Right.
On my behalf. And you know what he said to me? If I told my brother-in-law that I give him $1 million, which he probably needs and would enjoy, he would lock me up.
Wow.
So
you got the unlucky fortune of meeting the one straight judge in the whole
federal
Southwest.
judges are there for life.
Right.
And short of political influence,
It's
like
not
we've
worth
seen lately,
Yeah.
can work. But money-wise,
It's not worth it for them to take $1 million because they're going to make more.
first of all, those people don't need $1 million. They don't live that type of life.